Give Scott Lane a big round of applause. That is a way to open a show.
I know.
Now at center area, directly in front of you, he'll pull from the vertical. All forward orientation is lost. He looks out the left and right side of the cockpit.
It's gonna
The
stall.
closed canopy. He starts to roll the airplane. Gravity takes over. The speed dissipates. In goes the clutch. Shifts into reverse. Backs it up. Still rotating with the torque of the engine. Still worried about that ground behind him. Looking at the altimeter. It unwinds to a certain altitude and Scott Lane recovers out of the torque roll made famous by another Texan, the great Charlie Hillard, who won the World Aerobatic Championship in 1972 using that maneuver and many others. Now a reverse hairpin turnaround. Rolls the airplane 1/2 roll. At the top. Brings the stick back. The hairpin turn now has it reversing direction. Diving down for speed. The next maneuver's got a wild name. It's street slang in Czechoslovakia. Drinking too much plum brandy. What they call Slimovich. You try to walk and this is what happens to you after too much plum brandy. You become tipsy and out of control, trip over the curb and embarrass yourself. Now you see the sky dance that Scott Lane is doing, highly choreographed, on the vertical line, defying gravity, brings it into a right tumble with a flip top.
Yeah, but someone had to have just made it up.
Now the difference between a biplane and a monoplane, when you ask the pilots that fly them, Scott Lane would give you an answer. He would say, biplanes rule, and that's what they feel. Biplane provides a great amount of structural integrity. Tumble into the flip top, now reversing down. Making his way back down now. He'll start 60 degrees per second. Close to the vertical, you see the cockpit area.
If you came up and asked me if I wanted to ride with
The world stops. Pull left rudder, little right aileron. They call that the hammerhead in the United States. Over in the United Kingdom, they call that the vertical reverse. That was used by crop dusters and power line patrol pilots until it just resulted in too many fatalities. Used very safely by airshow pilots. Half loop, hitting shoulder rolls, and then tumbling the aircraft on the descending line. Now looking for the target altitude. As it goes into high RPM, pulling back into a vertical roll. Looking out the left and right side. One full roll on the way up and a half has us looking at the landing gear. Now floating over the top in a positive G environment, where the gravity forces are trying to push him out of his seat, pull him out of his seat, and a snap roll on the down line. Then without hesitation, rolling once, rolling twice, rolling 3 times, the 4-point hesitation roll. Off on your left now, the inspiration turnaround. You know, after a crop duster has put his chemical over the field, they do a 90 to 70 degree turn at low level to bring it back in over the field with minimum time, greatest amount of efficiency and safety. So we call that the inspiration turn because of the effect it had on our pilot Scott Lane. Now watch, he's got a little bit of altitude for insurance. Watch the nose and the tail as they start to swap end over end. These maneuvers known as gyroscopic maneuvers. Combination of great power and light weight. Power from the engine has to be transferred into the correct propeller or we're going to lose the efficiency of all that horsepower. So the big high-tech and very expensive propellers do that job.
He sounds like he's not.
Roll on the way up.
Let me see.
The hammerhead turn used by crop dusters, power line and pipeline patrol pilots. Until, as I mentioned, too many fatalities, but a great turnaround and altitude gaining maneuver and a safe maneuver for airshow pilots.
Here.
Ever so slowly, the Scott Lane slow mo Arcing across the top. 5/8 of a loop will begin that maneuver known as the Cuban 8. Rolling not 1/2 time to get back right side up from upside down, but 1.5 turns, increasing the difficulty factor. The left side of the figure to make that loop round, to get as much altitude as he can, cap it off on the top with a series of snap rolls, inverted flight, and finishing out the loop with 2 snaps on the double neck. The arc turnaround, known as the half Cuban 8, this time with a series of shoulder rolls to make it more complicated and to increase the disorientation. Pilot like Scott Lane Price